So we've got this humble people that are just so hardworking, so kind and so humble, you know. They're really nice, really friendly. Like you can just go and make friends with any of them. They would just be more than happy to be your friend. Yeah, I miss them. They're really, really fun. They're really good sense of humor. Like if you learn any of their language, they'll just think you're the coolest, you know. Like even just saying, you know, Jimbaripsu, saying hello to them, they'd be stoked. Probably the craziest things we ate were, I ate a tarantula when I was there. Yeah, just this big old black tarantula. It was kind of crispy, kind of tastes like a burnt French fry. That was exciting. But we'd prank each other for our birthdays. We'd buy each other weird stuff at the market, like, you know, you'd get a pig snout, box it up, wrap it, and give it to them for a present. Pig ears, you know, just weird stuff like that. Probably our staple, what we'd eat every day, was pork and rice. We'd eat that every day. Yeah, so rice, obviously, it's Asia, so they eat rice, but they would grill up this, you know, pork and throw it on. It was just amazing. It only cost like 50 cents for a box of rice with some of that on, so it was good. But they had everything, you know. They had all sorts of really great soup. For drinks, one of the awesome ones that probably saved my life over there was the sugarcane juice. Yeah, they had this big press and they'd put the sugarcane through it and it would squeeze out the juice, and they'd throw in some, you know, ice and a cup of water. So that was awesome. Yeah, sugarcane juice probably saved my life, and like in the heat there. One day we were tracking through the city, and my companion, he's like, "Oh, there's snow. Like, let's take a quick water break." I'm like, "Oh, you know, it's only 12:30. Like, let's go. You know, track up down this alley." He goes, "Oh, there's snow." And I turn around, he's holding this huge thermometer that he bought, and it said 120 degrees. So I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'll take a water break. So it was fun. So hot. In the city, there's not that much wildlife, but they do have a zoo outside the city. It was really cool. Monkeys and all sorts of wildlife out there, but mostly just rats and dogs in the city. Spiders. Yeah, we were tracking it. We were going down this alley and we came across this spider. I'll show a picture of it to you in a little bit. It was the size of my palm, so its fingers were like that far out, the width from like foot to foot, and then its body was about the size of my thumb. I have big thumbs, so it was huge. It was a spider where its body was that and its legs were like as long as my fingers, skinnier, and it had this cockroach hanging out of its mouth. Yeah, I'll show you the picture in a second. It's crazy. Oh my gosh, the ants. Yeah, you leave out like a little bit of food, there'd be like an army of ants. Yeah, it's just like thousands of ants crawling through your house. And even if you like sealed everything up, they'd come through the outlets into your house. That was fun. It was exciting to try and outsmart the ants. I had never felt endangered, really. I felt so safe. The only thing, I mean, just don't go like withdraw money by yourself at like midnight in some sketchy area. That's like the only thing I probably wouldn't do if I were there. But like during the day, like I feel safer there than I do in the States. Yeah, Cambodians are so nice. They celebrate their Khmer New Year during March. And they've got some fun traditions. What they'll do is they'll gather like a bunch of like water balloons and fill up water balloons and get baby powder, and they'll like throw them at each other and like throw baby powder on each other, like get them soaked and throw powder on them. And as missionaries, we weren't off limits, so like we'd be like riding down, and all of a sudden you get like bombarded with water balloons. It was so funny, like going down the alleys. I remember we were like riding our bikes down the road, and we saw like we were about to turn down one road, and we saw them at the end of the road with the water balloons. We go to the next one, there's like more. Finally we realized that they had us trapped, so we had to like weave through these people like with water balloons flying back and forth. So it was fun. Yeah, they'd be like lobbing them off rooftops, and it was just kind of a fun tradition. And it kind of welcomes in like the hot season, which is super hot. Like I said, during like March, April, it's just like killer. Southern Vietnam today was once Cambodia. So if you've got Cambodia, let's see, from your perspective, if you've got Cambodia, it's kind of this shape, kind of shape my fist. Vietnam it's like a long country that wraps around it, and you got, you know, the ocean over here. So southern Vietnam today used to be Cambodia. So this whole section, after they took out Pol Pot, the Vietnamese kept southern Cambodia, and it's now southern Vietnam. And so the Cambodians had a derogatory word that they would call the Vietnamese and in Vietnam, and they would call them Yuan, which means land stealer. And so they just had this negative sentiment towards Vietnamese people. There was times where, you know, they would burn down the Vietnamese communities just because they hated them, which is really sad. So part of our, you know, as a missionary, you have the 4 hours of service every week, roughly. We would go and help rebuild those communities that burned down. But it's just, it was hard to see that, you know. It was really hard for us to hear Cambodians call these people that we loved and served, because I served the Vietnamese people there primarily, and it was hard to see the people of the country you're living in hate on this other, you know, minority group. The temples are great. They've got like a balloon you can take up at sunrise to look out over all the temples. But I mean, they're some of the oldest temples in the world, if not like the oldest. It's really, really cool. I think they actually just discovered a new one in the jungle. Like a few weeks ago, we read this article, and they discovered like a new temple like off in the jungle, which is just crazy because I mean it's a tiny country and people have been there for a long time. You've got the coastline, Sihanouk Hookville, which is nice. You know, warm water. There's basically just 2 seasons down there. Hot. So there's dry hot and then wet hot. And so like if you get there from like, I got there in November, it was just hot. And I remember the little companion that I took off on the bike, my trainer, in December, he came outside and he was like shivering. And I'm like, he's like, it's so cold. He goes, I hate winter. We looked at the temperature, it was like 85. He was cold during that. So I mean, range, it never got below like 80 degrees. So you got like November to January, February is like dry hot. Then you get into hot season, March through April, it's just so hot. June to August is like monsoon season. So it's hot, but then you just like, you'll feel a few drops and then it'll just pour on you. That was fun. Like it would be dry, you know, dry, totally nice, and then you feel a few drops and just dump, and there'd be like huge floods.